Okay, my name is Denise Duquette. I am the owner and moderator of the Virtual Assistant community here on Google+. And today we're continuing with our Evernote and Going Paperless Challenge. We're on week number 2. Woohoo! And so today I'm joined with a bunch of lovely ladies, and we are going to address any issues, concerns, and just start going down the line. So ladies, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you all introduce yourself, and then we'll begin.
Okay, I'm Wendy Arlene. I'm a virtual assistant, of course. I've been in business since 2010, and before that I worked as an administrative assistant temporarily. And I'm really happy to be learning Evernote because I think it's a great program.
Yay! Christine?
I'm Christine Rostdeutsch, and my business is Your VA from PA, so you all know I'm in Pennsylvania at the moment. I've been in business going on, I'm in my 5th year now, and I've actually had an Evernote account for several years, and it kind of like fell by the wayside, and after listening to Denise's presentation down in Myrtle Beach, it's got me going again to really open my eyes as to everything that it can do for me, and also to tackle my many piles of note paper that I have around my computer. So I'm really looking forward to whittling this down and really learning more about Evernote.
So Christine, you'll find this rather funny. Janica was on the call last week, and I looked behind her, and keep in mind, she's the one who won the annual subscription to Evernote. Yeah. Behind her is this huge filing cover, and it is completely covered in Post-its. She took all the Post-its from her table, and she's like, she had all these notes in there, and I'm just like, but she knows. You know, you can't just like flip a switch. You know, it's building a habit. So it cracked me up so much.
Yeah, I tell you, every time I grab for paper and pen, I'm like, I think of you, and I'm like, oh, geez, I shouldn't be doing this. It's like the little voice on my shoulder. And you'd be so proud of me. Last Friday, I was in a meeting with a potential client, and I needed to make a note about something to send him, and I pulled out my phone, I pulled up the app, and I put the note in there. I'm like, oh, Denise would be so proud of me.
And I am, totally. That's awesome. Okay, and Elizabeth, your introduction?
Well, my name's Elizabeth Nadler, and I have not started my virtual assistant business yet. I have actually not worked since April of 2006, but I worked as an administrative assistant, an executive assistant, and a research assistant in various industries, construction, health insurance for a mobile company, number of different companies, and I really, I'm on disability right now, and it just sucks. Oh, this is being recorded, right? Oh well. So I really want to become a virtual assistant, and I have some things in mind, some services that I want to offer, and I have been offered some free training from a really excellent company. They've just gifted it to me. I've known them for several years, and they do a lot of training, social media marketing, and you know, some other things. So I'm very grateful for that, and I'm really grateful for this virtual assistance group. It's just turned out to be wonderful for me. I really like the people I've been meeting, and everyone's so helpful, and so I'm excited. I hope to get started with my business hopefully by the end of the year.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to start off with Teresa is going to try to join us before we hang up, but in case she doesn't, I wanted to go over a couple of questions that came her way over the course of the week. The first one is about OneNote, and most people who I have talked to over the years about Evernote know that I first started out with OneNote because I loved it. It had all these cool, colorful templates, and you could change all this stuff. And if you weren't super ambitious about, you know, making your own templates, there were tons that you could download. And that was back in a day where Microsoft was not thinking about mobile devices at all. It was just not on their radar. So if you actually tried to use the OneNote version on your smartphone, it was, you might as well have just stuck your head in the ground. It was just so, it was so basic. It couldn't do anything. It didn't sync up. It actually put the notes created on your smartphone in a separate section in OneNote, created its own little happy place. That was not so happy for me. So when I discovered Evernote, I was very happy because it was cross-platform. Everything kind of works the same whether you're using a Mac or a PC, an iPhone or an Android or a Windows phone. It's kind of all the same. There's little nuances that are a little different, but you know, the bulk of it is there. So the questions that Teresa got were kind of like, okay, can I get my OneNote stuff into Evernote? And the answer is a simple yes. All you need to do is export it out of OneNote and import it into Evernote. It does create a separate notebook called Imported Notebooks. Who would have thought? But because Microsoft didn't have that forefront thought when they first created OneNote, the tagging features don't, you know, there's no tags or anything, so you have to go through and consciously go through your digital docs and clean it out. But totally, you can take all of those funky, cool, especially if there's some that you really love. Like there's some really great travel checklists. Not just the did you pack your phone USB cable, but like you know, what's your passport info in case that's stolen and those kind of things. So you can actually import all of that into Evernote. The other one was actually one that she asked me earlier today. And it is there a quick and easy way to make a calendar in Evernote? The short and simple is no, but yes. You can make one in a table, and I actually have templates up through like mid-2016 for them. But in general, it's not a, you know, new note as a calendar. There's nothing that simple, that easy. In terms of prettyification, well, that's a Deniseism if I've ever heard one. You know, Evernote is meant to be functional. It's not necessarily made to be a rich text editor. It's not made to be fancy. It's made to store your stuff, use the tools that are built in it, like the OCR, to extract text out, but it's made to be functional, not necessarily. So those are the questions that I got from Teresa. So now I'm going to turn the floor over to you and tell me what's going on. What are your problems? What are your challenges? What didn't you get? What did you get? You know, the whole 9 yards.
Well, I'll go. You know, it's, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's transitioning. It's giving up what I've been doing. As soon as I start talking to somebody, I grab paper and pen to start writing notes about the conversation and whatnot. And then, okay, I got this. One question I had was, well, like I just have a couple notes from a webinar last week. It's just 2 little pages of notes, and I thought instead of typing it into Evernote to have it there, can I just like take pictures of this stuff, and will like send it to me in an email and transfer that email to Evernote so it's there? If I have stuff on paper that I want to get there, what would be the best?
There's a couple different features because Evernote has that built-in OCR capability. You can take a photo with your camera and then have the OCR work its magic. That would probably be the easiest way. I wish I had my notes that I just shredded from something I was working on a couple months ago. It was literally, it was like a really bad flow chart. I mean, it was just like, you know, like notes and squiggles and bubbles and lines and arrows, and it looked like something a graffiti artist would have upchucked. I mean, it was just nasty, messy. And I ended up scanning that on my traditional flatbed scanner and stuck it into Evernote, and as it OCR'd little blips and bunches, I saved the image in there wholly, but then I like looked at it, and when an arrow pointed up there, I took that bit of information and put it in the right buckets. You can also, depending on, you may not want to do it with notes, but say like insurance. I'll use that as an example. So say you get a paper insurance bill or the insurance cards for your car. I scan them, save them as a PDF, and then I either save a copy to Google Drive or I save a copy in Evernote as a PDF instead of as an image or as, you know, copy and pasted text. And the reason being, I want to say like 5 years ago, my husband was down in Boston and there was a little fender bender issue. He needed not only the phone number and policy number for Nationwide, but he needed also work with the car rental agency and all that other stuff. So I just sent him I shared it with him, and it had PDF of that information. It had who to contact, our local agent stuff, the whole 9 yards. And it just made his life a lot easier, which consequently made my life a lot easier. So depending on what the type of note is, that would be my recommendation. Scan it either as a PDF and import the PDF right into there, or use your camera and let the OCR work its magic. Kudos for like doing the whole you know, getting ready and going from this to, you know.
So do you really do you take notes directly to Evernote? I mean, like I say, as I'm talking to people, you know, I'm always, you know, the phone rings. Yeah, I got one of those glasses. You just noticed what you had there. I got one.
I got a whole set. I think I have.
I got Wiley. But I can't see myself giving up it totally. There's just something that about me. I just get so much more of taking notes while I'm talking to people. I'm trying to, like, if I'm listening to a webinar, to be taking notes, you know, on another screen, and then, you know, right away it's electronic, so to reduce that aspect of it. But like I say, as I'm like talking one-on-one with people, I know definitely that's one big area that I just grab paper and I'm writing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, to scan it in as a PDF, that is a great idea, you know, or to. I'm going to try the camera though and see how that works. I'm real curious to see how that works.
So you can take meeting, you know, any kind of notes with a pen and paper. You know what that is? Don't put a pen on your desk.
Yeah.
Nothing to write with on my desk. But yes,
I collect. I mean, this is just a small portion of
It's like the wall of shame, but
I know if we could actually show like the amount of pens and pencils and highlighters we have. I'm a huge pencil person, not so much the mechanical, but like thanks to my father, I have a love of golf pencils. It's a long story, but it's inspired by my dad. So I have a lot of golf pencils. So every time I go mini putting, I come home with a new pencil. But yeah, our wall of shame of pens and pencils would be pretty scary. But yes, when I am talking to a potential client, I actually have a template in Evernote that oh, let's see, that would be under templates. It forces me to make sure that I ask all the things that I need to ask, because sometimes I'll be sitting there talking to someone and I'm like, yeah, I think I've asked you everything. And then I get down to the bottom and I'm like, oh, I didn't ask them whether they, as a big huge truck, I forgot to ask them whether I need to do a couple of extra steps, and obviously that could affect pricing or, you know, the retainer hours or something like that. But yeah, I'll sit there and I make a copy of my potential client template, and, you know, in that I fill out their phone, their name, their email, the date of the initial contact, because maybe I won't hear from them for 6 months or a year. That's okay. Their general location, like, you know, New England or Southeast or something like that. Their industry, whether it's a restaurant owner, a coach, a medical practice, a tattoo shop, you know, whatever it is, I kind of try to get their industry in there, because ultimately I want to track those industries to see if there's some commonality. Like, am I resonating for some reason with a bunch of medical doctors? Or am I doing really good work for creatives? Because those are people that are very difficult to make. And then the one really important thing is I ask them their business story. And that is a big, huge section in that template where I want to know, you know, tell me about your business. Because I won't work with somebody who is not passionate, who doesn't, you know, in my case, you know, live and breathe, you know, lime green colors. You know, that's the way I roll, and I want to work with people who feel the same way. We used to have this joke at one of the, I used to be the marketing director of a label company here in Vermont, and PMS 249, every wall, because it was a family-run company, every wall bled PMS 249, which is like an emerald green. So I use my templates for that, and I set up a lot of different templates for notes, like one for just general phone conversation, one for brainstorming. And over time, as you start to take those notes, you will find certain commonalities, and you can make a template based off of that. It'll also, I have a team meeting with one of my clients and her whole team. And inevitably, if I don't look at that template, I will always fail to ask, and when is our next meeting? And since I'm responsible for scheduling it, it's important that I make sure that that's on the template. If I'm on a conference call or on a Hangout or you know, Skype or whatever, I just say, hey, I'm taking minutes, I'm taking notes. I'm not too good with the writing thing, and admittedly, over the years, my handwriting has gotten horrible. So I'm going to take notes, so if my clickety-clacking is too loud, just say so. And then I'll just mute my microphone while I'm talking to them. Mm-hmm. Now, are you finding that it's more difficult because you're on the phone as opposed to talking like through a headset or a microphone?
That might be part of it, but it's just who I've been for so long. Of as soon as I answer the phone or get on the phone with anybody, you know, it's like somebody starts talking to me, I need something to write down, so I don't, you know, they say who's calling, and I have to write the name down, so it's stuck in my head, you know, now who was I talking to 5 minutes ago? It's just
I'm the same way.
What I've done.
Yep, and that's part of, as you know, the fact that you did it the other day means you're actually thinking about it, and that's a lot of the battle. For me, like I said, I keep Evernote just open but minimized all day long, and I'll go in there at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and look and see that somebody has sent me a bunch of things I have to review or added to my read it later file. Thank you for having friends who know your Evernote email address. And but, you know, I just keep it open all day so that when, you know, if a call comes in, I literally have to click once it's open, and then I click new note and just start going. I can worry about putting an appropriate title in or putting the tags in, all of that stuff after the fact, as long as I have the bulk of who I talked to, the conversation, because I can always search for the terms afterwards.
Right. So, no, I definitely really want to work hard on this because I really need to get organized with all of this. Because, I mean, then there's times where I'm like, I know I wrote that down somewhere. Oh, which piece of paper? You know, so it's, I definitely want to work on this.
So I don't know if it's actually an official part of the, I think it is part of the getting things done process, is that you have an inbox on your desk and all of everything is stored in there. And that actually becomes very daunting because that pile grows, that physical pile grows. But if you're at least conscious of putting all of those written notes in there, it'll actually be a little bit of an eye-opener, but you can actually see that you're still accumulating. Mm-hmm. And it'll be more of the phone rings, you're sitting at your desk, you're looking at that big old pile of papers, and then you're like, oh, let me open Evernote and we'll get started. Yeah. You know, usually if I don't have Evernote open, you know, I'm not exactly a morning person, and someone calls me first thing in the morning, I will engage them in small talk whilst Evernote opens and syncs up. And yeah, I'll be like, oh, yeah, let me have a sip of coffee. So how are the kids? Oh, okay. Okay, so what did you want to talk about today? Let's get down to it. And at that point, you know, Evernote's open and I'm ready to rock and roll. So.
Okay. Can you record the call?
But every time, no. I'm going to go with no. You can use Uber Conference, and it works in conjunction backwards with Evernote. It basically will say when you hang up your Uber Conference call, it'll create a note and send it to your Evernote saying, you know, 5 people participated in your conference. It lasted X minutes, but it doesn't have a digital recording unless you chose that option. Mm-hmm. To have, but there's no direct way to do it. Not easily, not even with IFTTT. So. So who else is having issues or questions, problems, needs a little Go Team Evernote?
I have one question. Go ahead. Okay, the one question I had is I've got Evernote Web, and I got it, like you said, on all my devices now, and I also have Evernote Desktop. But I went and got the premium of Evernote Web, but when I do the desktop, it's not the premium. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. because they synchronize, so I figure it must be okay, right?
Yeah, it is. For me personally, the one big annoyance with Evernote Desktop, the desktop app, is unless you change your preferences, it's set up to sync every 30 minutes.
Yes.
That's fine and dandy if you want to allocate your computer resources for that. But, you know, at any given time, I've got 20, 30 tabs open with stuff. And, you know, all of that takes up your RAM. So I bump that down to synchronize on exit. Done. That may not work for everybody.
Is that why things are running slow now, lately? Is that why? Because I got 20, 30 tabs open?
If you have, well, it doesn't matter as far as Evernote goes. If the desktop app is open, it's open, you know.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you're like running Chrome or Firefox and you've got, you know, over 15 tabs open, yeah. It is going to eat away at your RAM. I mean, you can look at Windows at your task manager in Windows and see what's chunking away at your RAM. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, I see Miss Teresa joined us, but she's being quiet. So I'll keep talking.
Okay.
Until she interrupts me. So as far as, you know, very similar to Gmail, where it auto saves as you're typing very, very quickly, very very automatically. Evernote will do the same. So if you accidentally close the web browser that you have if you're using the web app,
That's not going to work.
You you may lose like 20 seconds worth of typing, but that'd be about it. I think it plays like every 20 to 30 seconds. So, Ms. Teresa, we can't hear you, hon. Poor girl, she's in Houston this week.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yep.
I'm wondering, is there a way to, when you create a note, or write a note, whatever, is there a way to actually save it as is so that you can't accidentally edit it because, like inadvertently delete something from it? Because the other day, I decided that I wanted to edit a note, and I found something in there I clicked on to edit note, and now suddenly all my notes were editable, and I can't seem to turn it off. Do I have this all wrong? Are the notes always able to be edited at all times?
Yes.
Okay.
That is, I mean, ultimately it was a collaborative tool. Now the way to get around that is kind of more archival, something where it's done, it's never gonna, you don't ever need to worry about it again. You may want to make a separate notebook called like archives or something along those lines. Give it a name, the don't touch notes, and then just put all those notes in there. That way you can, if you pull up, you go and pull it up and you notice that it's in the don't touch files notebook, then you're like, oh, okay, don't want to edit that one.
Okay.
If I need content from that, but otherwise, and you can also tag it, don't touch files, or something along those lines. It would be the equivalent of my templates that I use for everyday work use. I copy what is in that note to a new note, so I never overwrite the original template.
Oh, okay. So you just copy the content and start a new note.
Yep.
Good
I mean, you're limited to 100,000 notes.
Okay.
Even me, it'll take. I think I have 1,000 notes right now. So
100,000 is a lot.
Exactly. So unless you, unless there's some really crazy stuff out there, one thing that I found very beneficial, and I didn't realize it at the time, was when you're, like, I have a tag for travel. And so, like, if there's a destination I want to go to, I'll use Las Vegas as an example. The note is called Las Vegas Travel, and in that one note is everything. Things I've observed, places I liked, places I didn't like, and I just put a horizontal line and just kind of break it up so that it's in little sections. I don't start a new note for, okay, well, this time we stayed downtown as opposed to last time where we stayed on the Strip, or stayed at the Stratosphere versus stayed at the MGM. I keep all of my Las Vegas travel notes in one note, not multiple notes. And so that kind of makes my life a little easier, because there's only, how many destinations can I ever go to in my lifetime?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So what other issues, or has anybody done the send to Evernote feature through email yet?
I did. Yeah, I did one. The only problem is I have to figure out how to get it where I really want it to go. Not just, it's there.
That is a pain in the tuchus. Yep. In the primer, I don't know if it was in the first week or this week's, because blur, but you probably, Christine, you probably have the full book from Iva anyway. Teresa wrote a really good detailed explanation of when you use the exclamation point and the date to have the reminder, and then I think it's the @ symbol notebook name. We'll put it in the right notebook, and then hashtag tag name. But she has that all spelled out in there because I can never remember it too, and it goes to my default personal notes thing. And luckily, because I open it every day and have it open all the time, I'll come in the morning and be like, why is that note in the top of it? Oh, yeah, I got to put that in the right place. And I quickly file it off. For me personally, I use it a lot for, I'll be researching an article while I'm either still in bed reading from my tablet, or the grumpy one will send me a note to read something. And I will Evernote than it is to do anything else, and then I can just read it in Evernote when I'm done later.
Oh.
So what else? What other problems? Any challenges? Any, come on, work with me.
I just like it.
Time to get in deeper.
Yeah, it just goes deeper and deeper. I'm enjoying the whole learning experience here. I've got one, because you were talking about Post-it notes and the wall of shame. So I made a notebook called Post-it notes. And so I can just put stuff there because I don't know where to put it. And I might even just be putting it there for a little while, and then I'm going to delete it. But I just need to dump things, and so I got the notebook for dumping things.
Yep. When I first started out, I had one called TBD, to be determined.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was like all random things. There were in the 90s or something, and I'm just like, you know what? I want to get rid of the damn piece of paper. It's just driving me nuts. And scanned it in TBD. And then over time, I put it in the right notebook, made sure the OCR worked right, and then got rid of it. But it's, Evernote on the most basic level is really easy to use. But then you start thinking, how can I take it to the next level? And that's where it's always, fun and challenging and a little nerve-wracking.
Can you scan directly into Evernote, or you have to scan it and then take whatever you scan it into and then import that into Evernote?
If you're using a smartphone, you can take a snapshot directly into Evernote. You open up Evernote, and there's a new note, and it gives you the option to do it by camera. You can, if you're ever in the instance where you decide that you need a speed scanner to do a huge bulk, lots of paper kind of thing, the Fujitsu ScanSnap series was designed to work with Evernote. It has a lot of Evernote-friendly capabilities, and it's sort of like the Neat scanners. It's very high speed, very quick, very fast. So if you're ever in the market for that, that would be the item to check out. And that does scan directly to Evernote.
And who makes that, the ScanSnap series?
Fujitsu.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And I want to say around, well, they have a portable version, which is like $150, but it can go upwards of $400, I believe. But again, that's for someone who's doing some significant, needs the ADF, needs the real fast speed and all of that.
Right.
My HP that I use for scanning it, it's got the ADF, thank God, but it, I worked getting 15 years worth of bank statements. I don't know why. Well, I had them and I was going to shred them, so. And I just did a few every day, you know, get in, kick off the duplex, let it go and do its thing. But that stuff I chose not to put into Evernote for obvious reasons. So.
Right. ADF?
Automatic document feeder.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or as my husband calls it, the shirt. Whoosh. You know, the shoosher thing that's on the copier. It goes whoosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why the code monkeys of the world are just so wonderful to be married to. Shoosher. Dear Lord. So what else? Really getting into the habit?
Yes.
Anybody concerned about how it's going to affect your paper load?
What did you say? You can't hear the sound.
How it's going
Went out.
No, seriously, how it affects your paper load. One of the things that I noticed when I embarked on going paperless was, oh crap, I got to buy a shredder. But how much, it's really obvious about how much paper both your business and your household accumulate. And so every time I got a piece of paper, I would put it on my desk because that meant I had to address it right away. And then, like, important little hand notes would come in, and it would get shoved in that pile because I also needed to take care of those. So now I've got home stuff and work stuff mixed in because it all ultimately needed to be scanned or disseminated. And it was a little stressful, not going to lie. But it, like everything else, just like Christine getting used to grabbing her phone or her tablet or just opening up Evernote and typing as she's talking to someone, it doesn't happen overnight. It does not. I mean, the paperless journey took a solid 6 to 9 months here at the house, which included the office, for me to switch from, I was the keep everything in email drafts kind of person. Any link, any interesting tidbit, it would all be saved as an email draft because I could always access Gmail wherever I was. Breaking out of that habit took me a good 2 months. Good 2 months. And the running joke in the house.
Did you spend all day?
I ended up doing that. Well, so like probably on the average day there were 60 drafts in there, and there were actually working drafts that I would use for emails every week, like when I have to send in the radio show information to the show producer. You know, that's a form email. So then I had to like not only sift to find that particular email once a week because it had been buried by all the other crap in there. I looked at every article, and most of it was blog fodder or something for my client. I consciously went through all those pieces, and that was the easy part because, you know, there it's just static. It either went on a spreadsheet in Google Docs or it got put into Evernote as blog fodder. But then the going forward and keeping momentum was the really hard part. So Mark made me do it the hard way by having to pay for it. So every time he'd come home from work, he'd ask me, how many drafts are in your email folder? And I'd be like, 10. Give me $10. I'm like, well, 2 are for work. 2 are for work. Really? They're work templates. I swear. And so, yeah, he made me pay for every time. And then he took me out to dinner like after 2 months when it got down to the remaining 2 drafts that always stay in my drafts folder. But it took a really long time to get that far. And the first real test to that was the first time I went away for like a weekend or a couple of days, and I still had to work while on the road. And I'd be sifting through doing my normal thing, and I gotta save the article. I want to take some of those elements, write all about it because it's really awesome. It is so Maui Wowie. right into the drafts folder it went. And there it sat. And I came home after like 4 days, and I had to pay my husband like $100.
Oh,
And I was like, that's not going to happen again. Yeah. You know, I was like, I gotta work too. Can't do that. The whole point is to make money, not give it away. So, but you know, in essence, you treat it like an addiction. You wean yourself off, and then going forward, you have to consciously think about not doing what you were doing before. For those of you who know my business partner, Benjamin, he's an alcoholic, and so he is not allowed to drink ever again. And so being best friends with someone who's an alcoholic is challenging, and you have to consciously, you have to know the steps that they go through, what their everyday demons are like. And we applied a lot of his AA therapies to my mom, who's a paperaholic. She loves her paper, and when she had her, it's evident how much she likes her paper. And so at first my dad and I sat down and we addressed her issues with catalogs. She loves catalogs, but she gets on average 10 catalogs a day, and the environmental impact is scary when you think about it in those terms. But she also needed to write, so I didn't want to relinquish her list writing capabilities. So I made sure that every time we went to the hospital, I brought her all kinds of little girly notepads, and I would ask her to make me a list of something I could work on at the house, which I wouldn't do. It was just more to get her motor skills and get her brain back into recovery. But then as she came home, my husband, Benjamin, my dad, and I all worked together to not let her have so many notes. My dad and I came up with a system for grocery ordering, because somebody like the only child would have to go grocery shopping for them. Good times. And when my mom was in the hospital, you know, you're kind of used to certain things in your own household. And I haven't lived with my parents since I was 17. They only moved up here 5 years ago, so, you know. So Dad and I made a list while she was in the hospital of all the things that she buys, the kind of laundry detergent she uses. In my household, the dishwasher's called Little Miss Right Hand and Little Miss. They have those. They got them things you put the dishes in, and it goes whoosh, and washes them all up. I didn't even know how to use one, let alone what kind of detergent to buy. So, you know, we made this huge list of groceries, and very specific. And so we got Mom used to using her laptop and Evernote, and we said, okay, what do you need? Let me make you a list. And she'd grab her paper, and Benjamin would just pick it right up and walk away with it. He was great, you know. My husband, on the other hand, is not so tolerant, and he would just like roll his eyes and be like, "You've got Evernote open in front of you, woman. Use it." So, you know, but so if you think about it from that standpoint, that your pen and paper or your Post-its or your Angel and her writing on her hand, she does it all the time. I didn't realize how much she does it all the time, but she does. You know, I mean, even me, I still have scraps of paper. I don't know if you can see behind my desk. For those who know me and know that I run paperless, I have stacks of paper. See, these are all my old bills that still come in the mail every month, and I do use them if I have to, like for something that is disposable, really disposable. Or if I have to give something to Mark to take with him, like a part number or something, because sometimes he doesn't. Guys who develop code have a tendency to have to reformat their phone a lot. Let's go with that. So, but you know, when you work at it every day and it's conscious and it's in the back of your brain, you'll get there eventually. It's really more of the, I think if you're conscious every morning when you come into the office and you open it up right away, it's more in your brain than, you know, as you're working throughout. We should have put that in Evernote. But if you get to that point and you've written like 10 handwritten notes that day, guess how you're spending your wrap up for the day?
Yeah.
You put them in there. And, you know, if you allocate, even if it's just 15 minutes, because it really shouldn't take, you know, much longer than 15 minutes to take a bunch of handwritten notes and put them into Evernote. You know, make that a priority, because that, and then the more you do it, the more you'll be like, oh, why didn't I just open Evernote when I thought about it? It'll, you know, it'll get that habit going.
Yeah.
Well, I have to be going, everybody. But I thank you for this.
Oh, no.
Next week I can't be on the call. I am at a 2-day retreat, so hopefully I'll be back in South Jersey.
Good.
I get to go to Jersey. All
Nice
right,
meeting you,
everybody. See ya.
See ya. So any other questions, concerns, stuff you didn't get, you know, or thought didn't apply to you in the primer?
No, I think I'm good.
Me too.
Okay.
It seems to be a really user-friendly application.
You know, when you think about it from the most basic level, that it was meant to be something like Notepad that worked everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was a good thing. It's, you know, it's they tried to make it as simple but as functional as possible, and that's why, you know, even though it doesn't have all of the pretty templates and girly fonts and all that kind of stuff, you know, at the end of the day, you don't really need a lot of that. And all of that, of course, takes up resources, which, you know, you don't like your phone running at, you know, dog dead speed, or your laptop. So
I'm not big on girly fonts anyway.
I love them, but not for reading notes on a tiny little smartphone. I mean, that. Ugh. So, all right. Well, let us wrap up, and then we will stop recording. So, Wendy, any big takeaway points or challenges you want to address between now and next week?
I think my biggest one was the Evernote Pro going from desktop to web. I didn't understand that. So that's good now. It's just a total learning thing every day. Like I spend every day on it. I start out with my daily notes and my daily to-do list, and just go from there. Like you said, it's something you have to leave open all the time. And there's still lots to learn, but I'm getting there.
And you know, I've used Evernote since 2008, and writing the primer, I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, well, isn't that interesting?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so you'll find stuff, and they keep developing for it, and
yeah.
Someday we'll all get there.
Yes.
Elizabeth, how about you? What are your takeaway points?
You know, I did run into a weird problem the other day. Somehow or other I got stuck in Evernote Web, and I could not get back to Evernote Desktop for love or money. I don't know how it happened, but I kept closing the web thing and logging out, and then every time I would click on, you know, because I keep an icon on my taskbar for it, and every time I would click on it, it would reopen the web version, and I really don't, I prefer not to use that, but somehow or other, maybe when I shut my browser down and turned my computer off, it seemed to have fixed itself, so, but I kind of wonder how you get from the web to the desktop version if you get stuck like that. I just couldn't get it to. Does that make sense? It was just very strange.
Yeah. So in an instance like that, you can actually right-click on the icon that's down on your taskbar.
Okay.
And if it's a shortcut, it will probably say something along the lines of program shortcut underneath it. Or it'll say like unpin this program from taskbar or something along those lines.
Right.
But at the end of the day, a reboot is the first way to go, and then from there, see if that fixes it.
Couldn't she also go into her programs and just click on the program itself in the program list?
It should work depending on what OS you're using. I know that Windows 8.1 has a, every once in a while I will pin the wrong thing to the start bar, and then it takes me 20 minutes to figure out what the heck I did. So
I'm still on Windows 7.
So am I. I'm on Windows 7. But
I guess I'm used to it, and I use the taskbar for a lot of stuff, and then I use Chrome, so I've got a lot of stuff pinned, a lot of programs pinned on the, or not programs, websites pinned on the top. It's very convenient. But as far as like challenges for me, because I have a lot of stuff going on with my sister right now because I have the medical power of attorney, and there's a million things going on, and I'm actually using Evernote to help me set up some systems for dealing with some of these issues so that I can, instead of getting stuck in something where I end up having to be on the phone with people for, 5 hours over an issue, I'm trying to get a lot of stuff streamlined into, some processes. So I'm working on that, and also, I need to finish the primer from the first week, and I haven't even had a chance to look at the primer for this week yet. I've just been extremely busy, but I'm going to make the time because this is just turning out to be so helpful. Denise, we love you.
Every day, as long as I help someone, I'm a happy little camp.
Well, you
all right. Well, then I am going to stop the recording. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and next week we will be continuing on with our Evernote and Going Paperless Challenge. Thanks for joining us.